The Titanic was called the Unsinkable when they built it, but it sank on its maiden voyage. 26 months of construction, about 3,000 shipyard workers hired for a structure akin to a 20-story building day in and day out, 6 days a week, and $7.5 million. All sank to the ocean floor in the middle of the cold North Atlantic. How did it happen? How incompetent everyone could have been for a mighty ship to sink in one night? What were the factors that brought the demise of the RMS Titanic? And can we really just blame it all on an iceberg? Let's find out. We publish numerous videos of similar content regularly. If you're a fan, please subscribe now and hit the notification bell to get updates from our channel. Like, share, and comment. The RMS Titanic was a British superliner that set sail for New York City on April 10, 1912, only to suffer an accident in the middle of the North Atlantic Ocean, and it sank in the early morning hours of April 15. More than 1,500 people lost their lives that day, which was more than 2/3 of all people on board. A lot of theories were put forward as the years went by. A lot of films that rivaled the ship's construction costs were produced, and extensive search was commissioned to locate the whereabouts of the sunken ship. Titanic was found in 1985, and light was shed to the growing questions on what exactly happened that fateful night. It was only then that they found out that the Titanic sank 2 pieces, and thorough research was done on the wreck. Multiple theories arose and were eventually debunked, and new findings continue to shape the official story that an iceberg was all to blame. Titanic was 882 feet and 9 inches long, 92 feet wide, and 175 feet tall. The ship had a usable volume of 46,328 tons, as well as 10 decks and many passages. The facilities were so many that the officers took over a week to memorize it all. The passenger liner also had 4 smokestacks that were 80 feet tall, as 100 tons of soot is blown daily. The design called for the smokestacks to stand at a 30-degree angle, which helped blowing the soot against the wind and away from the passengers. Given her grand design, Titanic was expensive. The cost of construction in today's money would have been about $400 million. At the time, the 3,000 hired builders were paid £2 a week, which was a good amount to feed a family back then. They did their jobs for 26 months, despite safety concerns. 8 people died and 246 were injured, as the shipyard didn't have many safety ropes. After Titanic was completed, her interior was something the world envied. First-class passenger suites cost $75,000 in today's money. There was a grand staircase that went down 7 out of 10 decks on the ship. The interior was decorated with prized art pieces and bronze statues. It also had a classical touch, with the style of panels and domed ceilings. There was also a swimming pool with heating, as well as a Turkish bath service that the British loved during that time period. There was also a gym, a court, and a beauty salon. Dinners are elegant and full of life, so first-class passengers get to order a stylist to dress them up. The voyage also had a newspaper called the Atlantic Daily Bulletin. And to top it all off, even first-class pets had accommodations, and they were cared for by the crew. The first class enjoyed meals in 13 courses. The kitchen stored 1,500 bottles of wine, 20,000 bottles of beer, and 8,000 cigars. Each night was a grand occasion, and the ship carried its prized instruments such as grand pianos and violins. Where in the world did they commit a mistake? All that wealth gone in 2.5 hours. Thanks to modern research in the discovered wreck, we are able to shed light to some answers. Senan Maloney, author and political editor for Irish Daily Mail, has been researching on Titanic's wreck and stated that a 30-foot-long black spot on the hull of the ship was discovered, suggesting that Titanic suffered a fire that may have lasted for several weeks. The research on Titanic's wreckage produced numerous photographs that were subsequently analyzed thoroughly, and the journalist got a hold on one of the archives. It contained unpublished photos of Titanic during and after her construction. There were also photos of Titanic preparing for her maiden voyage. Metallurgy experts are certain that the fire seriously weakened the metal, reducing its strength by as much as 75%. This weakening made the hull relatively more vulnerable to damage compared to normal conditions. And all of the spots that could hit the iceberg, it was the weakest, burnt spot that did. They should have foreseen the possibilities of an accident, right? After all, they already had the information that the North Atlantic was teeming with ice that time of the year. Why didn't they cancel the voyage? There is information that states that the ship owners went with allowing the ship to sail to prevent bankruptcy. Coal prices were rising due to miners going on strike at the time. Titanic then didn't have enough coal fuel to fuel itself for voyage, but tickets were already sold out. Everyone wanted to be part of the historical maiden voyage of the then largest ship, which later did become more historical than expected. Because of this, other ships canceled their voyages, and Titanic's management simply bought coal from those ships. Titanic was trying to make an impression in order to keep her patrons. The ship was docked in a way that would face the burnt side away to the sea. In addition to concealing the damage, the ship also sailed over the speed limit in order to make an impression that Titanic didn't fall behind schedule. The speed was another factor to why they weren't able to prevent collision with the iceberg. The most important thing that everyone on the ship needed was a practice of safety. Old ships relied on binoculars fully in order to detect nearby objects, as sonar systems weren't available until 5 years after that voyage. All of the binoculars were locked in a compartment. The officers didn't have anything to use for that whole week. The officer with the key to the compartment was Second Officer David Blair. He was replaced at the last minute and found out 3 days later that he wasn't able to hand over the keys to his replacement. Another safety failure was connected to the lifeboats. At the time, the lifeboat laws stated that the number of lifeboats needed in voyage depended on the tonnage of the ship, not the number of people on it. To be able to rescue everyone, the ship needed 60 lifeboats. Titanic only had 20 because the designer thought that too many lifeboats would ruin the aesthetics of the deck. And if that wasn't enough, the management did not have a lifeboat drill. Even in 1912, ship drills were already a standard practice. Curiously, Captain Edward John Smith canceled the drill that was scheduled. When the ship was sinking, the crew took some time launching the boats, and the first few boats set sail with 27 passengers only, when its full capacity was 65. This left a lot of passengers with no choice but to sink with the ship and float in freezing waters until they got rescued or lost consciousness because of hypothermia. Captain Smith later on received a lot of criticism for this. This incompetence received several backlashes, including his navigation exam records that he failed. SS Californian's captain, a ship that was sailing close to the shipwreck, was also fired for allegedly ignoring Titanic's distress signals. The ship could have been a big help with the rescue, but with modern research, it was found out that it was possible that SS Californian did not notice the signals due to light refraction, a phenomenon where light and sound can divert to a different direction. That is how new discoveries in modern research can do with uncovering answers that were buried by countless years. What do you think? Please comment your thoughts down below. Like and share if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to the channel and click on the notification bell to get more related videos regularly.